Cool. So recording. So welcome to day two, guys. And this is like nutrition. I put 101 because obviously there's like so much to nutrition, but also it's really like simple when you get into it, but there's lots of nuances. So hopefully this one will take away a lot of the like stress around nutrition and just bring it back to the basics is what I've tried to do in this one. Um, there's obviously a lot more things to learn, but if you were eating like this all the time, um, and obviously if you're vegan or vegetarian, you make the substitutes and make sure you're mixing beans and grains and things like that, and nuts and seeds to get the full spectrum of protein. But yeah, I'll just start and yeah, let me know, pop any questions in the chat, and then at the end or in the middle, I'll get around to answering them. Cool. So we need to put some thought into what we're eating. We can't just to be optimally healthy. I'm not about stressing about food or obsessing about food or getting stressed out about it, because that causes problems in itself. But um, cool. So Tess, just pop in the chat if you can hear me or unmute yourself and let me know. Because I think the sound is working now. So anyway, these days our foods aren't as nutrient dense as they used to be. So long ago, obviously we didn't eat probably as much as cave people and things like that, but the foods we were eating were much more nutrient dense. These days, our foods, our soils are quite depleted. Our foods travel a long way. There's kind of more chemicals on our food, which then stresses out our body more. We can't use them as good. Our actually guts aren't as diverse as they used to be able to extract all the nutrients from the food. So we do have to put a little bit of thought into it at the start. And then once you start eating like a balanced diet and get on track with that, it should come second nature. You will know how to eat and you'll still be able to enjoy like the food you enjoy. There's definitely nothing off the table. When I work with people, it's like you can have what you want, but it's all in like moderation and making sure you're getting the nutrients in to be able to actually heal from maybe the foods that aren't as good for you or might put a stress on your body. So speaking of stress, there's a bit more stress to do all the things. Um, the pill was great for for getting us out of the house, and we weren't in Ireland. They call it pregnant and barefoot. Women, you keep them pregnant and barefoot, as in they don't leave the house; they just have loads of kids. So the pill was great. It was like it gave us back control over our lives, and we could go out and work again, and actually start getting some equality in our lives and doing things like motherhood as well and beyond. But also like it's a lot the way, because we're working on men's cycles, we kind of got our bit of freedom, but then we thought we had to kind of slot in with what men were like, because they were the ones working and things like that. But it's not. We do have to start kind of shifting maybe our views around that and working more to support our bodies, not just living our lives on somebody else's um, hormonal cycle or timeline or whatever it is. Um, so this stress is very expensive for our bodies. So it means that we actually need even more nutrients to prevent us from getting chronic illnesses and autoimmunity and getting burnt out and depleted, and thyroid issues. Um, then, like I said, then before, when there wasn't as much kind of expected of us, or that we didn't put the pressure on ourselves to do it all. Like this hustle culture, I can juggle everything, is great, but we actually need to, if we're going to live like an athlete, we need to be fueling like an athlete, or a mom who is an athlete, by the way. Autoimmune and chronic conditions are on the rise, especially amongst women. I think it's because we definitely have a tendency to overthink more, and that creates stress. And also, I feel like our hormones are just more susceptible. Men's recycle on a 24-hour cycle, whereas ours are a bit of a longer cycle. And I feel like they are more susceptible, well, they definitely are more susceptible to environmental things, either stimulus, like even just stresses, like the media and actual like, chemicals in our environment and things like that. So I, for one, don't want women and therefore everyone, because when we suffer, they suffer. Our hormones are much more susceptible than men. And also, we have the sheer number of body products and things like that. Like for years, like the 90s, I don't even want to think what I was putting in my bath, like as in gold, glitter, sparkle, blue, red, whatever. The things putting on my body, on my face, like they're just full of chemicals, full of chemicals. So even if I was eating well-ish, which I wasn't, but if I was, I would still probably had period issues and things like that. And this is what leads us to think it's just the way it is, because I eat well, I work out, I do all the things, but actually we're like bombarded. People are becoming a bit more aware of it now and making the switch to like natural products. But it's in everything, not to like freak you out. So the thing is, by focusing in on our nutrition, that is something we can control. We can't control the air. We can't always control like what's in our house and things like that. I don't mean products, because we can definitely, when they run out, we can buy new products. I'm on about in, the beds and the actual like units of furniture like in your house. Um, but what we can control is how we detoxify like our body, and we can control kind of the things we put on our body or in our body. Um, yeah, and I talked about being feminine, being a woman. It means we are more open, we are more like meant to kind of receive and things like that. This is more kind of energetic things. So therefore we take in much more stimuli, like I said, which causes our minds to mull over things and causes more stress, which then our bodies gets, it doesn't matter whether you're just thinking about a stress or there's actually a lion in front of you, your body reacts the same way. Um, yeah, and then motherhood, hormonal shifts like perimenopause, they're all times where we actually do need more nutrients as well. So we need to make up for the more inflammatory and processed foods that we do eat, as in we don't grow all our own food, and not everything is grass fed, you know, um, chemical free, hormone free, things like that. So, again, if we're focusing in on what we can control, which is what we put on our plates and things like that, then when we have the odd processed food or have our like little meal that we like or the things we like, it's okay. Our like bodies are taken care of. We have enough nutrients. We're also in like in modern days, I just talked about like the toxic environment, and they can body products and things like and plastics contain endocrine, which means hormone disrupting chemicals, like plastics and phthalates, which are phthalates are like in our body products, in our makeup, in our shower stuff. And like I said, people are making the switch now, but also that can be confusing because sometimes, the marketing, they kind of what's called greenwashing. So they'll write like, oh, natural something or other, but actually it still has stuff in it. They just use natural because it's like they use one thing natural in it or something like that. So you do have to be more discerning. And there's like Instagram accounts there that are really good for getting that information. It's like environmental toxic nerd or D, and nourished and vibrant and stuff like that are very good at kind of showing you products that actually don't contain stuff at all. Um, and also, it's like, what are we missing from our environment? So we're not out in nature as much. We're much more sedentary. We're not moving around as much. We're kind of too sanitized. We're too clean. Our gut microbiome, like it used to thrive when we used to be probably rolling around in the dirt a bit. Um, and we're very clean now. So our guts and things like that, that is literally a gateway to your health that deals with like your mood, inflammation, um your immune, did I say immunity, um things like that. So if that's not thriving, like we're not thriving. And then of course, like we don't get as much sun and things like that. I'm sure I could go on with like the type of things in our environments that can be putting more stress, and therefore our bodies need more nutrients. It needs more things to to nourish it for fuel, for repair and healing, um, for immunity, and yes, like everything, everything, managing stress. So back to basics. So the basic things is you want like a balanced plate. If you're getting three good meals a day that have, you're basically covering like what I talk about on the coming slides, and they're really balanced, and you kind of switch it up every day, every second day, or even you need to think about um, a month as a whole, because you'll do your shopping and you'll probably just eat those veg this week, and it's about the next week going in and being like, okay, I'm gonna, last week I kind of had chicken and beef or something, and this week I'm going to get some salmon and something else. And the same with your vegetables. And it doesn't have to be, you might get apples each week, but get different variety of apples. That's feeding the diversity in your stomach. Therefore you're getting these different anti-inflammatory compounds, different things that are going to help your health over time, and you can kind of rotate those. So portion size matters, and I'm not just talking about, you know, for weight. I'm on about like the size. Usually we probably don't have enough protein and probably have a lot of carbs, or else way too little carbs. So we'll talk about kind of protein size matters like for health, and make sure you're like getting enough of what you need. Eating breakfast. If you were such a chilled person, you're kind of in menopause, you're not really stressy, you know, great if you want to do intermittent fasting or something like that, or you're not having breakfast. But for the most of us, because there's a lot of stress on us, this is an opportunity for us to make our bodies feel safe, like first thing in the morning. It's also, if you don't have that meal, or you make it really skimpy, like just a slice of toast, like you're missing out on an opportunity to get protein in. Like good luck to you trying to get, if you're, we talk about how much protein you need later, and it's actually like we're just not getting enough as women. We're really not, unless you're really into probably your bodybuilding and having like two protein smoothies a day. If you're not thinking about it, you're probably not getting enough. So eating breakfast is like a prime opportunity to do that. And it just also, like I said, makes your body feel calm. It makes it feel safe. It's like, cool, we've like, if nothing else, we've got this for the day. And it really keeps your stress levels in check. Um, Eating enough, like I said, on the whole, no skipping meals. It creates really stress on your body. It creates like famine mode, and you kind of set off all that inflammatory reaction. Um, no naked carbs. So this has to do with blood sugar regulation, which sounds boring, but this is like the cornerstone to probably a lot of people's problems. And it's a really easy fix once you know why you're doing it. We've kind of brought up where we'll have carbs for breakfast, like toast or cereal, because of this like westernized diet. Toast or cereal for breakfast, you know, a sandwich for lunch, with probably not much filling in it, like more bread than filling. And then for dinner, you know, a big plate of rice with a little bit of like chicken curry on it or something like that. Um, and that is like a lot of carb. That's going to just send your blood sugar levels like up and down, up and down. We want them nice and like smooth. We want very no big fluctuations in blood sugar, because it basically makes you more eventually insulin resistant, which is bad. That's inflammatory, and it leads to a lot of conditions, even beyond things like diabetes at the end of the day. But it also, in the short term, if you're eating just a slice of toast and a bagel and I don't, something, you know, where there's more carbs, not very much protein, not very much fats, or not very much fiber in these meals, then um, you're getting all those blood sugar spikes, which are going to make your cravings go out of control. It's going to make you tired. It's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your immunity. It's going to make you moody. Like when you get anxiety, um, that, like, more than likely, if that's something that you can't explain or you don't have particularly stress on you, it's probably down to your blood sugar regulation. Um, so eat mainly whole foods. Like I said, you want to be covering, making sure I'm nourishing my body, giving it what it needs. And of course, I can have like a slice of cake there or a bit of chocolate there because I'm doing all this in the background. So I know my body's like supported, so I don't freak out too much about having any things that maybe aren't as nourishing for it, but I enjoy. So being too strict and perfect with your diet, um, oh yeah, don't think being strict and perfect with your diet is the be all and end all, because this actually in itself creates stress that affects your like digestion and the way you'll actually take that food in, and that will set off a stress in itself. So it's good just to like learn these things, implement them a little bit at a little bit, like just start with breakfast. If you're not getting enough protein at breakfast, just start there, do that for a week. Once you've got that down, move on to the next thing. Don't try to do it all at once because it's kind of undoing what we're actually trying to do, which is um like calm down the inflammation in your body, make it less stressed and make it more efficient, and not using unnecessary nutrients on stressful thoughts or situations. So this is kind of like your balance plate ratio. There's a couple of caveats to this, but once you get this down, you can kind of and understand some more. You'll be able to shift it around. But just a given is, so it's two fistfuls of green or other veggies or fruit, um, about a palm to a palm and a half sized of a protein. If again you're not having like animal protein or things like that, then you will want to make sure your carbs and your beans and stuff kind of add up to that. So these ones will kind of be mixed up a bit. Sorry, that's going mental there. But basically, your carbs, your protein, and your veggies, you just have to make sure you've got some decent amount of protein in there, because they're a bean is like uh, protein and carbohydrates, and nuts and seeds are like a bit of protein and fats and things like that. So there's a bit more thought that goes into it. And then fats, you want 1 to 2 thumb size portions of like good fats. You don't have to do this plate every day like this, but because if you eat out, you might decide to eat something else. But it's basically, again, over the course of the week, that this is generally what your meals would add up to look like. So if you had a big carby dinner, then the next day you just make a bit more effort to make sure you're getting enough protein and veg and things like that. It doesn't have to look like this all the time, but it's a good like rule of thumb. And also, if you're very active, if you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, you probably need like definitely this amount of carbs, if not like a little bit more. And then if you're somebody who doesn't like eating too much carbs, or you feel like that doesn't really like suit my body too much, then you would just put in more fats than carbs. Fats are actually like, we need fats, we need protein, we need fruit and veggies for the nutrients and the fiber in them. We actually don't need carbohydrates for our bodies, but it's a very good fuel source because it's fast, because it's easy, because it takes less energy for our bodies to extract the energy from it. It's much less stressful for the body. So if you go keto or you cut out carbs, that is putting a stress on your body. So that suits people better, again, when they're in more menopause, when they aren't menstruating. And we'll talk about why. So as for fats, basically all of our hormones are made from cholesterol, or like all of our sex hormones, or steroid hormones, I should say, because we've also got hormones made from proteins. So we need fats. So not only do we need enough fats, make sure they're healthy, because basically every cell membrane in your body is made up of fat. So if that's turning over each day, if you're renewing your cells, which we are, then you want that to be incorporated with like good fats, not trans fats from fried foods and things like that. Although, again, you can have that sometimes, that's fine. But the majority of it, you want it to be from good, healthy fat. That's going to have you feeling, when people start introducing more nuts and seeds and avocado and um, like extra virgin olive oil and things like that into their diet, they see a big difference in like their skin. Like they're like, oh, I'm kind of glowing. And that's like, it's because it's your like, they're your like cell membrane. So when you've got these good fats and things coming through, you're able to repair and regenerate better and basically replace those old cells with new improved cells. We'll say that. Um, so also we need fats. We need to make sure we're eating enough and that we're actually digesting them. So yeah, you want to look out for any signs of like a fat malabsorption or things like that, because um, if your digestion, if your bile isn't working as it should, or if you don't have a gallbladder, then you'll need some help in digesting your fats. Um, yeah, so if you've got a health issue, you may be eating enough but not absorbing enough. Um, so you can get things like that in extra virgin olive oil, avocado, fatty fish like salmon, sardines, nuts. And the benefit of those as well is like omega-3. Um, is like omega-3 fatty acids are anti-inflammatory. We usually don't get enough from our diet unless you're eating things like salmon and fish and things like that, like 3 times a week at least. So supplementing with that is one of the supplements I do recommend everyone do supplement all the time, basically. Um, and then when it comes to your hormones, especially flaxseed, and then you can also use coconut oil, coconut yogurt, ghee, butter, red meat, egg yolk, and please eat the egg yolk. Don't throw it away. So protein, basically for healthy hormones and things like that, and just health in general, 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. So you can make that out. That can look like about probably 70 to 90, like depending again on body weight and things like that. Of lean body weight, I should say, because if you were someone who had like a lot of extra weight, that would be like a lot of protein. So it's lean body mass. Um, so other hormones like thyroid, insulin are peptide hormones, meaning they're made from protein. So we need protein to actually make those. Also, the building blocks of the body, amino acids, are used to repair and maintain hormones, muscles, organs, nervous system, immune system, basically everything. So we want to make sure we're getting enough of that. And it's just a big problem because we usually it's a hard one to get. So muscle is so important for overall health. It's actually like metabolically active. So the more muscle you have, the more efficient and things like that your body is. Um, and it will affect your hormone health as well. Like if you've got very low muscle mass, it's going to affect your hormones. And the disadvantage is, as women, we find it harder to build and maintain muscle. So eating enough is like vital. Like we especially as we go into like our late 30s, like perimenopause, um it's definitely a time where, well, even before that, we should be making sure we're doing this and doing like some sort of strength training as well to build and maintain our muscles. Um, and obviously, meat, poultry, eggs, fish, tofu, Greek yogurt, protein powder, collagen, quinoa, beans, lentils, bone broth, things like that. Um, so I just put this in because these are all our kind of sex hormones here, and cortisol, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, and they're all made from cholesterol. So I just wanted to make the point that like if we're not eating enough, or we're not eating enough fats, or we're not digesting our fats, um, like we just can't make our hormones. Basically, we'll be depleted AF. So, and then I just talked the other day about the hormonal hierarchy, and I got a couple of messages about it. And I just wanted to say, here's your like stress hormones, like cortisol, and then insulin is for metabolic health, for blood sugar regulation. These are our survival hormones. They're always going to be prioritized by the body. So if we aren't eating enough or we don't have enough nutrients or we're kind of running on bare minimum by skipping meals, like not paying attention, not taking maybe the supplements that we need, or at times of higher stress when you're breastfeeding or postpartum or pregnancy or perimenopause, when we need that little bit more and we don't have enough, it's going to go straight here. It's just going to these. So the body's like, see ya, sex hormones, see ya, thyroid. See it like, and so DHEA is our resilience hormone. Like it helps us cope with stress really well. It actually buffers. So when your stress hormones go out up, DHEA tries to like buffer it, and it kind of just helps you with resilience. And it's also called the youth hormone. Like it, if that's really low, you're gonna start seeing like these fine lines and wrinkles and things like that. That was something I noticed. Like it's like noticeable that you will look in the mirror and be like, "What the hell? Like, why do I look so old? Like so fast?" Um, that definitely when I had burnout like a year postpartum, like that was definitely one of the things. Like my DA, like everything would have been ground zero. Like the my hormones are just so flatlined. And one of them was DHEA, and I just looked like drawn. I was like, oh my god, why have I aged like a million years? On top of the fact I feel like I'm a million. Um, Pregnenolone, that is called the mother of all the hormones. So that is the, if we go back, cholesterol, pregnenolone, it's called the mother of all hormones because everything else stems from that. Thyroid hormones, they basically are the thermostat of our body. It detects if if we're under threat, or if our body, if there's like needing a drive to do something, it will turn everything up. And we'll get, if it's up all the time and we feel like off, we're going to be like anxious and kind of irritable and just on edge and things like that. And then and ready to, where you just feel like I'm ready to go kind of a thing. That's everything being turned up. And then obviously when you're low thyroid, you're like sluggish, fatigued, turns off your digestion, it turns like you're just dragging your limbs around the place, and you'll have hair loss and dry skin, and yeah, just feel awful. um and again, it's protection. It's just the body protecting you. And then at the bottom of the totem pole here is estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and melatonin, which we need for sleep. So yeah, like that's why sometimes when you're so exhausted and depleted and feeling awful, then you go to bed and you're like, why the hell can't I sleep? It's because cortisol is up and melatonin is down. And even when cortisol gets depleted, you might still find you're waking at night and things like that because melatonin just isn't being prioritized. So anything wrong here, stress hormones and blood sugar regulation, can affect these, and it can affect these. It can affect it kind of over time as this kind of happens, or these can affect that directly. And again, all your nutrients, all your resources will go towards here and shut down everything else, because reproduction is not a priority when you are stressed or sick, or your body's like attacking itself basically. Or essentially you feel like you're running from a lion. So carbs, like I said, there are certain times of life where low carb may be suitable, and definitely all the studies done on men, like they do quite well on it, especially if they're like insulin resistant and maybe not as active. Um, but more likely when our hormones start acting more like males, like I said, in menopause, or you aren't particularly stressed or under high stress, um, we always want this like all or nothing approach to things. Like it's like, give me this special diet, and you either kind of go all out and like cut carbs altogether, or we probably eat too many, and there's actually like the middle ground where it's enough for our body to like feel safe and to support ovulation and basically your period health overall, but not so much that it's taking up like a lot of our diet with like processed or needless carbs. Again, there's those times if you're more active, if you're under a lot of stress, if you are postpartum, pregnant, things like that, you may actually do with a bit more carbs than 150 grams. But Lara Bryden, she's a kind of basically hormone expert, naturopath, recommends no less than 150 grams of carbs for menstruating women. And that looks like basically maybe two slices of toast, a potato, and some veg, because like isn't there's very little carbs in them, but they kind of add up, and maybe a what's called a cup size of rice with dinner. So that's 150. So that's like a decent amount, but I feel like we could probably eat more than that, like because of the way we've kind of like approach carbs. But then if it's not, if we're not eating loads, then and we cut them out, that's also a stress for our body. So about that is really good. Again, a bit more if you're stressed or those other things I talked about. Um, and if you are lower carb, then the carbs you're eating should be of or good quality. Sorry, not of like low nutrient value. So processed carbs and things like that. If you're only eating less than 150 or carbs a day or thereabouts, it shouldn't be like a white bread roll and a donut and like breakfast cereal or something like that. Um, so we need ample calories and carbs to actually ovulate, for our bodies to feel safe. That is the main thing. Your body needs to feel safe to produce, to reproduce, to actually decide, yeah, it's safe enough to have a baby. I have enough food. I'm in a safe environment. Yeah, let's reproduce. Um, so restricting carbs can lead to loss of your period or just deranged periods. Like you may still be getting your period. That doesn't mean that you're ovulating, especially if it's very heavy. Um, and then obviously, if you're not having your period at all, then you're not ovulating. And then like slow carbs, ones that are full of fiber, ones that are like obviously any fruit and veggies and things like that are great. Beans, pumpkin, kumara, potatoes, rice, of whatever kind you like, really. Um, Starchy veg and root veggies, carrot, parsnips, things like that. Fruit, quinoa, amaranth, like all those things. Um, yeah. When it comes to vegetables, you just want to keep it variety. Just each week you go, try and pick something different. Don't just do the same things every week. Or just like rotate them. Like one week you're going to buy this, and the next week you're going to buy these ones. And you can go to farmers markets, and they usually have like a box or something, and they're definitely not ones that you always buy at the supermarket. So varied, colorful, rotate them, because they basically feed your gut microbiome, which help us to live, really. It's a symbiotic relationship. So the little critters in our gut, the more diverse they are of the good bacteria that helps us thrive, like they are way more depleted than hundreds of years ago. We used to definitely have more variety in there, and they help us with everything: our mood, our immunity, blood sugar regulation, um, like absorbing nutrients from our food. Actually, we eat some foods like fruit and plant foods and things like that, and we can't actually get the nutrients out. It's those good bacteria that actually nom 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 eat the fruit and veggies, and then they release the anti-inflammatory things that we use. So we want to be feeding them. We want to like promote their growth. If you've got a digestion or gut issue, you might find like, oh, I don't do well, you're low FODMAP or something like that. That's only a temporary measure till you get your gut back on track. But if you cut out loads of beneficial food like that and variety, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because it's going to lead to more issues down the line. It's about addressing like your gut issues, getting that all back online, and then you can start introducing these foods again. So as we kind of talk about hormone health, cruciferous veggies and leafy greens are particularly good for gut and hormone detoxification, like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts. And like I said, a lot of these like fruit and veggies and fibrous foods contain phytonutrients, which are anti-inflammatory, support our detoxification, and protect our like DNA. And they're found in fruit, veg, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. And then again, on the gut health front, are fermented foods, because they kind of contain the live bacteria, which we hope will kind of seed in our gut, and or feed the bacteria in our gut. So sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, yogurt, pickled veg. So you either like love them or hate them, some of these. But just even putting a little bit, like buying one pot of something a week, and again rotating them, and then just putting a little bit on the side of your plate. And lots of herbs and spices. They contain everything that's in veggies. They can contain those, and they can be quite potent. Turmeric is very anti-inflammatory. They all have like different things, so it's just about, or different benefits. So yeah, it's just like rotating those around, using them in your cooking. And then hormone super nutrients, so magnesium. We should just all be taking magnesium. It's basically for stress. And the thing is, the body, when you are stressed, this is the kicker, is the body tends to dump magnesium because it feels like, no, we need to be alert. We need to be go, go, go. So it'll dump magnesium because magnesium is calming, but actually we want to be calmed because we can't help ourselves being stressed about emails or things that aren't actually a threat. And yeah, it's needed in the processes to make hormones and everything. Um, Tests, yeah, depends. Sorry, somebody's just asked magnesium citrate. So magnesium citrate is good if you want to also use it to have like bowel movements. So if you're like constipated, you can also use that one if it doesn't affect some people who maybe don't have constipation issues. Some people can find that kind of gives them diarrhea or gives them an upset tummy. So it's really just dependent on tolerance, on what you think. But I would recommend either magnesium citrate or magnesium bisglycinate is the other one you could try if that kind of upsets your tummy. You're welcome. So again, you can eat magnesium, nuts, seeds, leafy greens, but we're probably not getting enough. So you that is one to supplement. And then vitamin D is more of a acts like a steroid hormone. We get it from sunlight, mushrooms, egg yolks. But again, it's a hard one to get. It's actually hard to get enough of it, especially in winter. So vitamin D3 with K2, with K2, vitamin K2 can help shunt calcium, which what we want it for, into bone and not soft tissue. So taking those two together is quite good. And we can get tested for vitamin D as well. So that's a good idea if you're unsure, but taking it, especially in winter, is probably not out of the question. The reason being is that vitamin D is a fat soluble hormone vitamin, so we can actually store it. So you can actually overdose on vitamin D, but the majority of the time we are actually deficient in it because we don't get enough sunlight, and it's hard to get from our food. Okay, so zinc are really important. In just basically hormone plays a role in irregular periods, facial hair, PMS, period pain, and it regulates again the stress response. So it promotes healthy ovulation and transport of all the hormones. Um, and iodine, this is one for estrogen excess symptoms. It promotes detoxification, which is like getting rid of estrogen as you should, and make cells less sensitive to estrogen, especially because we'll talk about later. Estrogen dominance is where we have too much estrogen. Um, this could be our body making too much estrogen, or because there's too much estrogen like toxins in our system from our body products, from plastics, things like that. So, this is a real problem. You can also have estrogen dominance when estrogen is normal or low if you have very little to no progesterone. So it's about the balance. They're like yin and yang. You want them to be the ideal balance. And when they're out of balance, you can get the symptoms. Even if your estrogen is fine, you can get estrogen dominant like symptoms. Um, so again, I wouldn't supplement with iodine if you have antibodies to your thyroid, like in Hashimoto's. Um, you just want to really control your iodine intake in that one. Um, and you can get it from like seaweed, dulse flakes, or it could be included in your multivitamin. Um, but if you're taking it on its own, take with selenium to protect the thyroid. So you don't need to supplement this. You could just make sure you're getting kind of once a weekly dose of some sort of iodine in seaweed or dulse flakes in your food. And selenium can be found in like Brazil nuts. Again, I kind of have like 2 to 3 Brazil nuts every couple of days. And that is not prescription. That's just me. Like I just know what's in there and then take them. So I try and keep it as simple as possible. Just looking at those food groups, and then over time, if you're not like depleted, if your symptoms aren't really bad, you can just follow this, and it will definitely like help your health. If you have kind of symptoms, you're kind of high stress, there may be like a bit more you can put down on top of it. Or if you have a certain condition that's a bit more intense when it comes to your period, like things are really out of whack, PCOS, endometriosis, like there's other things you can add to this, but it's this is a really like a good starting place. So like I said, there's times we can rein it in and get more nutrients. Like my course Revive is for when you're burnt out and depleted. This is really like getting like deep nutrition back into you, and also how to absorb that nutrition if you're stressed and your digestion's off. If you have any conditions and you just feel any of those symptoms, if you're like fatigued, your moods are all over the place, cravings, your gut is off, more than likely your digestion is suppressed, because if your body's in fight or flight or stressed, it shuts down digestion. Um, yeah, so in fact, it's the unlearning that's the hard part, because as women, we're kind of grew up in diet culture and things like that. And although there's more information there now, things are starting to change, it still sometimes can be in the back of your head. And as a mom, you might just be putting all your energy into your kids and things like that, and forgetting to eat or not paying attention to your food. But it is really important if you want to stay well and healthy, like for them, and also show them what that means, to eat well. To see you sitting there and having like a balanced meal is really important too. Um, so yeah, I use sometimes like cycle syncing and things like that. In hardcore cycle thinking, you may actually like change what you eat based on the phase you're in. So in my last one, I went through that there's like 4 phases in your cycle, or from your period and the follicular phase, ovulation, and luteal phase. And yeah, I just think like that's all just in the too hard basket. And there's no need. If you're eating a well balanced diet, you're getting enough variety, um, that will be enough to keep you healthy, except in certain circumstances. But I have made kind of things that are either like interesting or maybe of benefit. So around your period or just before, you could add some more red meat or be more aware of ensuring you're getting enough iron. Because if you're someone, yeah, if you're somebody who eats like a lot of red meat, dark meat, poultry, leafy greens, lentils, red beans, or iron containing foods, you don't really need to worry. But if you're somebody who know you're a bit slack on those things, then it can be just a reminder coming up to your period or your period to get them in, because obviously we lose blood then, so we lose iron. So it's a good time to kind of reminder, be like, oh, this week I should probably eat something with iron in it. Also make sure you're any of those iron containing things, you're eating them away from caffeine, tea, coffee, because it decreases its absorption. Um, and also have something with vitamin C containing foods like citrus fruits, capsicum, broccoli, potatoes, near or around when you're having these things, because vitamin C helps you absorb iron. So away from caffeine containing things, and add something vitamin C like when you're eating something iron like. And the other thing with iron is your digestion working as it should? Like if you're getting any gut symptoms, if you're getting any like nausea, indigestion, just feeling like you're not breaking down your protein or your fiber, uh, things like that, then maybe your digestion suppressed, and that will also affect your absorption of iron. So if you have like an iron issue, uh, yeah, and another thing you should know is that your appetite will naturally increase in the luteal or early menstrual period phase. So remember, the luteal is the 10 days before your period. Our bodies, we naturally become more insulin resistant, which uh, can cause cravings and things like that. So knowing this, you can also plan your meals, and like that's where you can put a bit more of your starchy carbs there, or know that you're going to have some more snacks, and being ready for that, and not kind of being like, oh, why is my body out of control, why am I craving all these things? It's like it's natural. If these are really out of control, like as in that you just you're really craving things and you can't stop eating, you're like binging and things like that, well, that can be like a sign of hormonal imbalance. But even if hormones are balanced, we'll still get that little like nudge more towards, oh, I kind of feel like something sweet or something comfort food like. So dark chocolate and stuff, like have your bit of chocolate, but like I said here, you can also get prepped with some like protein pancakes, make those up and put them in the freezer, and then you just pop them in the toaster when you want them. Snack on nuts, seeds, and dark chocolate. Make a chia pudding with cacao, coconut cream, and maple syrup. Sorry, that was all one. A chia pudding with cacao, coconut cream, and maple syrup would be nice, and some berries or something like that. And yeah, basically that's your body's like uh, not utilizing blood sugar as we want to around that time. So it can make you hungrier and have more cravings and things like that. Yeah, so that's everything I just said there. Also, the benefit of knowing that your follicular and your ovulation phases are times when you might have more what we call willpower. Basically, you just don't have as much cravings and things like that. And you're more likely to be active and you're feeling really good and things like that. So, when you're feeling like that, use that to your advantage. Do your meal prep, eat well then. Because, like I said, one day out of the month, a couple of days out of the month isn't going to ruin the whole month when it comes to your health. It's more like, what are we doing the whole time? And use that time to get in like your nutritious foods, because you'll feel like eating them. Um, yeah, your cravings will be on your side, and you'll just have better like um, it's got you'll probably feel like eating healthy. It's when you feel like kind of like, oh, I'm doing really well here. Yes, so just some meal ideas for happier hormones. Um, so a three-egg omelette with spinach, tomato, feta, and sourdough toast, or if you're gluten-free toast. Um, and something like 2 tablespoons of coconut yogurt mixed in with collagen powder. So remember, coconut yogurt, especially if you're dairy free, which that can have an impact on your hormones because it can be inflammatory for some people, and they might want to switch to A2 dairy or goats or sheep's dairy or something like that. Um, so if you don't do dairy, um, unfortunately, like Greek yogurt has protein, so that's a good one to get in more protein. So if you have coconut yogurt, that's actually mostly fat. So I like to mix like some collagen powder with that to up the protein there. Keto granola, again, just good fats and protein, just a bit of protein. Berries, really good for, like I said, all those antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, and a little drizzle of honey because I have taste buds and it just makes it taste nicer. Um, and then something like a smoothie. Don't forget, this is like a prime opportunity to add all the veg, cauliflower rice, spinach, berries, half a banana, coconut yogurt, really good for electrolytes, flax seeds. That's like your hormones' best friend. If you have high estrogen or estrogen problems, it contains lignans, which basically, if you're high estrogen, can block the receptors, block that effect of like the high estrogen. And if you're low estrogen, it can actually start acting like estrogen a bit, especially in that perimenopause or menopause phase when estrogen is low. Pumpkin seeds, magnesium, and other nutrients, a scoop of protein powder, Greek yogurt. Yeah, just nice and mixed, just everything that we said in this. And these are really blood sugar friendly as well. So none of these are like naked carbs. Like I said at the beginning, you want to dress your carbs up in protein and or fat and or fiber to make them less inflammatory on the body. Um, Lunch ideas, uh, like salmon salad with leafy greens, cut up some veg, whatever veg you want. And then for some carbs, you can either throw in some leftover roast veg for dinner or cook some quinoa in bone broth. And just like, if you can, make your own kind of dressing with like extra virgin olive oil, lemon, and herbs or something like that. And then a really good tip for seeds is to sprinkle them over your salad or your soup or your sandwiches, anything, just sprinkle them over it. And it's a good way to get them in because if you're doing seed cycling, which is sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, and like tahini. Did I say sesame seeds? Sesame seeds. Um, they are all good seeds that can contain nutrients that help your hormones. But the therapeutic dose is 1 to 2 tablespoons, 2 tablespoons really a day. You don't have to use those directly on the days. Again, it's all about what you're doing over the month. It's all about what you're doing over a week. It's not just the days. So if you are eating pumpkin seeds in your, what side are they on? On your in your luteal, it's still going to stand to you. Like the body's very smart. It will prioritize those vitamins and things like that. It's more about just getting the variety about around the month. Whereas if you like the actual structure of having pumpkin seeds and flax seeds in the first half and the sesame seeds in the form of tahini, and sunflower seeds in the second half, that's fine. But you don't need to be really pedantic about it. You can just use those whenever. And if you're suspecting you have any estrogen dominant symptoms, which I talk about all the time on my Instagram page, then yeah, just having flax seeds most days, in your yogurt, in your smoothie, things like that, in your what's it called, keto granola or something like that. Chicken burrito bowl, again, chicken, making sure it's a palm or a palm and a half, even though the beans here would be the half. So making sure your chicken is like a chicken breast size, beans, rice, avocado, slow. Just what you notice here is just colors, lots of different things, and then some beans, some good slow carbohydrates, and you could put it in a wrap instead of rice or a pita or something like that. And then just with the dinner ideas, if you want to screenshot that, you can. Um, it's just the same thing. It's just palm and a half of protein, some good fats in there, and obviously, if I haven't mentioned fats, it's taken that it's in the oil, and just different veg. Just mix it up with the veg. And anything. Yeah, just when it comes to your prep, just when you're roasting veg and things like that, just put on more than you need, and you can use it for lunch the next day or during the week. Same with like quinoa or rice, for just using for 1 to 2 days. And you can add to the rice. Again, this is for hormonal health, those cruciferous veggies, things like cauliflower rice and broccoli rice to your rice to your rice to just, again, that's just different species, different varieties, and a bit more fiber. And like I said, on meals, on salads, everything, sprinkling some nuts and seeds on them, adding some nuts to your stir fries or your curries and things like that. And then snacks are carrot and cucumber sticks and hummus, mussels, a really good like little snack. Some pate and some seeded crackers, chia seed and yogurt pudding with berries. And obviously just like have the chocolate or have the cake. If it's like as in it doesn't matter. That's not the enemy, if you're eating like this most of the time, that's not going to make a dent in your health. It's more um what we do every day or most days that counts. So implementing what we've learned here will have you well on your way to giving your body and hormones what they need to be a bit more in balance, um, to help with cramps, mood swings, PMS, cravings, and low energy aren't impacting, so they're not impacting your life. So what we haven't covered is like detoxification support. We haven't gone into like the particular hormones. We've talked a lot about them, but how they interplay with each other and like what foods or supplements can help with each of those, because everyone's different. So it's obviously what I'm doing like a 12-week program on it, and I even think it might run beyond that. I don't know when. Yeah, it's going to be about the 12-week mark, but I want you to be able to understand like your body and the how these hormones like interact with each other, to look at your symptoms and be able to like pick out what may be happening and then take the action steps like towards that. And then of course blood sugar regulation, that's up at the top of like the number one thing that you would do to get your health back on track. Digestion and gut health, because that's like we need good digestion to actually get the nutrients and the raw materials to make our hormones, and then we need good gut health to actually recycle and balance those hormones as they should be, because they reuptake estrogen and can make it very high in our body if our gut health is off. um like understanding kind of weight regulation, and why, like what is the interplay of the hormones there when it comes to your weight, because you could be eating very little and doing all the exercise and your weight isn't budging, or you're even like gaining weight, and that comes down to like what's your body doing. It's trying to protect you in some way, but what is going on, and which hormones are we actually going to address, or gut issues, um or liver issues. We'll say there's loads to it. And then mindset, because like we, number one, the mind is the body is the mind. If you are thinking that you're stressed all the time, if you're thinking there's danger or you fear or thinking you're not enough, or you're not doing good enough, or you're not doing enough, then your body's listening, and that's going to cause dysregulation. And also the how do we actually do the things? So we've all got a lot of us have kids, and it's really hard. You're looking after like another human, and we didn't go to school for motherhood. There was no school for that. So it's really hard to like try and look after yourself when you're actually looking after like another person. Um, so it's also getting our mind to be that we actually are the priority, and that will benefit them. It will benefit them. It seems selfish at the start, or you can't really get your head around like the mom guilt and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when your cup is like overflowing, when you feel so have so much energy and feel great and don't have these like up and down mood swings, and kind of understand you and your emotions and your body better, then that is only going to help everyone around you, your relationships, your work, things like that. Um, and of course, then there's like individualized supplementation for the different hormones and the relationship between those hormones. Um, yeah, so there's a lot more, but I think this is like a really good place to start. So the task for this week is to try and make a balanced plate. And if you're unsure about anything, upload a photo and I can check it for you. Or if you've got any questions, just upload that as well. And this is, like I said, there's a lot more to it. Um, we'll talk more about this tomorrow. But yeah, this is what we've covered little bit on nutrition today. Yeah, and thank you, and I hope that was helpful. Just go. Hey guys, any questions? Like out of breath at the end, I was trying to keep it an hour. Was that helpful? Or any questions or anything? You can unmute and chat as well. There's it's not recorded anymore. Or am I? No. Cool. Okay, guys, if there's no questions, I'll hopefully see you all for day 3 on Monday. And if you think of anything afterwards, just pop them in Facebook. Bye.